What if I told you that right now you are operating at only a fraction of your true potential? That the biggest prison in your life isn't your job, your age, or your circumstances, but your own mind? In the next few minutes, you'll discover ancient Stoic strategies used by Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca to build unbreakable discipline, limitless mental strength, and unstoppable confidence. And the final lesson may completely change how you see yourself forever. Imagine waking up one day and realizing that the only thing standing between you and the life you want is not your age, not your past, not your enemies, not your lack of money, but your own mind. What if I told you that most people never discover this truth until it's too late? They spend decades imprisoned by invisible chains forged by fear, doubt, distraction, and emotional weakness. And the tragedy is that those chains were never locked. The key was always inside them. Marcus Aurelius once wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Think about that for a moment. If your thoughts are weak, your life becomes weak. If your thoughts are powerful, your life transforms. The greatest battle you will ever fight is not against the world. It is against the voice inside your head that tells you to quit, to settle, to stay comfortable, and to remain average. There is a story about a young man who visited a Stoic teacher seeking the secret of greatness. The teacher listened patiently and then led him to a river. Suddenly, the teacher pushed the young man's head underwater. Seconds passed. The young man struggled desperately. Just before he lost consciousness, the teacher pulled him out. Gasping for air, the young man shouted in anger. The teacher calmly asked one question. When you were underwater, what did you desire more than anything? The young man answered air. The teacher smiled and said, when you desire excellence with the same intensity you desired air, you will become unstoppable. Most people say they want success. Few truly want it. Most want comfort. They want results without sacrifice, confidence without discomfort, discipline without struggle. But the Stoics understood something modern society desperately tries to avoid. Growth is born through resistance. Strength is forged through hardship. Greatness requires suffering. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Your mind has been trained by modern life to be limited, endless distractions, constant entertainment, instant gratification, and social comparison have weakened your mental muscles. Every notification steals your focus. Every excuse erodes your self-respect. Every moment of avoidance reinforces weakness. But there is good news. Your mind can be retrained. You can become limitless. And before this video ends, you will understand exactly how. Because the final lesson may completely change the way you see yourself forever. The first Stoic principle for becoming limitless is mastering internal control. Epictetus taught that some things are within our control and some are not. This sounds simple, yet almost nobody truly lives this principle. Most people waste enormous amounts of emotional energy worrying about things they cannot change. They obsess over what others think. They replay past mistakes. They fear uncertain futures. They become prisoners of events they cannot control. A limitless mind refuses this trap. Imagine two people losing their jobs on the same day. One spirals into despair, blaming the economy, the company, and bad luck. The other immediately asks, what can I do next? What skills can I improve? What opportunities exist right now? Same event, completely different outcome. Why? Because one surrendered control while the other reclaimed it. Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal, political conspiracies, war plague, and unimaginable pressure. Yet he repeatedly reminded himself that external events possess no power unless we grant them power through our judgments. This is where true mental strength begins. Your boss insults you, you can become angry, bitter, and emotionally destroyed, or you can say, this is merely an event. My response belongs to me. Someone rejects you, you can believe you are worthless, Or you can say, their decision does not define my value. Life becomes infinitely lighter when you stop carrying what was never yours to carry. But mastering control is only the beginning, because there is another invisible enemy destroying millions of lives every single day. Comfort. Modern society worships comfort. Comfortable chairs, comfortable jobs, comfortable routines, comfortable excuses. Yet comfort is slowly killing ambition. Seneca warned that difficult circumstances reveal a person's true character. Think about your own life. How many dreams have you abandoned because discomfort appeared? How many opportunities have you missed because fear whispered, "Stay safe"? How many years have disappeared while waiting for perfect conditions? The limitless individual develops voluntary discomfort. Stoics intentionally embraced hardship. They fasted, slept on hard surfaces, endured cold, and practiced simplicity, not because suffering itself was noble, but because they wanted freedom from fear. If you can willingly face discomfort, you become nearly impossible to control. Consider David Goggins. His transformation from an overweight, insecure young man into one of the toughest individuals alive did not happen through motivation. It happened because he repeatedly chose discomfort. He trained his mind to do difficult things, especially when he did not feel like it. And that is the secret. Your feelings cannot be trusted. Some mornings you will not feel motivated. Some days you will feel afraid. Some moments you will want to quit. A limitless mind acts anyway. Discipline means honoring commitments after emotions disappear. The person who only acts when inspired will never become extraordinary. The person who acts regardless of emotional state becomes unstoppable. But there is a hidden psychological reason why this works. Every time you do something difficult, your brain updates its identity. You stop saying, "I hope I'm strong." You begin saying, "I know I'm strong because I have evidence." Confidence is not built by positive thinking. Confidence is built through repeated acts of courage. And the next lesson reveals why most people unknowingly destroy their own confidence every single day. Your self-respect is directly connected to the promises you keep to yourself. Think carefully. Every time you say, "I will wake up early and fail," every time you promise to exercise and quit, every time you delay important work, you teach your subconscious one dangerous message. My word means nothing. Eventually, you stop trusting yourself. And when self-trust disappears, anxiety, insecurity, and self-doubt rush in. The Stoics understood integrity begins within. If you cannot trust yourself, why should life trust you with greater responsibilities? Start small. Wake up when you said you would. Complete the workout, read 10 pages, finish the task, keep the promise. These seemingly insignificant victories accumulate. Over months and years, they create an unshakable identity, an identity capable of extraordinary achievement. And something remarkable happens. You stop seeking validation from others because self-respect becomes stronger than public opinion. Unfortunately, most people never reach this stage because they remain addicted to external approval. From childhood, we are conditioned to seek praise, acceptance, and recognition. Social media intensified this addiction. Entire identities now depend on likes, followers, and strangers' opinions. Marcus Aurelius warned that the approval of others is fleeting because those granting approval are themselves temporary. And words, why surrender your peace to people who are still trying to figure out their own lives? A limitless mind understands that criticism and praise are equally dangerous. Praise can make you complacent. Criticism can make you fearful. Freedom begins when neither controls you. Ask yourself, how many decisions have you made simply to impress others? How many dreams remain unpursued because you feared judgment? How many talents remain hidden because criticism terrified you? Imagine the life you could create if external opinions lost their power. That possibility exists. But first, you must confront the greatest illusion of all, the illusion that you have time. The illusion that you have time is perhaps the most dangerous lie ever believed by humanity. Most people live as though they possess an endless supply of tomorrows. They postpone their dreams. They delay difficult conversations. They keep telling themselves that someday they will finally become disciplined. Someday they will pursue their purpose. Someday they will start living. But someday is a dangerous word, because someday often becomes never. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Think about that. How many hours disappear every week scrolling through social media? How many evenings vanish in meaningless distractions? How many years are quietly consumed by habits that add nothing to your future? A limitless mind understands that time is the most valuable currency in existence. Money lost can be regained. Opportunities lost can sometimes return, but time never comes back. Imagine being 80 years old, sitting alone reflecting on your life. What would hurt more, the failures you experienced or the opportunities you never pursued because fear stopped you? For most people, the deepest pain is regret. Regret for not taking the risk. Regret for staying in toxic relationships. Regret for remaining silent. Regret for living according to other people's expectations. The Stoics practiced a powerful exercise called memento mori. Remember that you will die. To modern ears, this sounds dark, but for the Stoics it was liberating. When you remember that life is temporary, trivial worries lose their power, petty arguments become meaningless, jealousy fades, excuses disappear. What remains is clarity. You begin asking better questions. Is this truly important? Am I living according to my values? Am I becoming the person I was meant to become? A limitless mind does not fear death. It fears never truly living. And this realization changes everything. Because once you understand the scarcity of time, you become fiercely protective of your attention. Attention is the gateway to greatness. Whatever consistently captures your attention ultimately shapes your destiny. Modern society fights relentlessly for your focus. Companies spend billions to keep you distracted. Notifications, advertisements, breaking news, endless entertainment, all competing for one priceless asset, your mind. Marcus Aurelius never had to battle social media addiction, yet his advice remains astonishingly relevant. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The question is simple: who controls your attention? Do you, or does everyone else? Consider this. If someone stole 2 hours from you every single day, you would call the police. Yet millions willingly surrender far more than that to distractions. Years pass, potential disappears. Dreams remain unrealized, not because people lack talent, but because they lack focus. A limitless mind treats focus like a sacred resource. This means learning to be alone with your thoughts. For many people, silence is terrifying. The moment silence appears, they immediately reach for a phone. Why? Because silence forces confrontation. It reveals insecurities, unresolved pain, hidden fears, and uncomfortable truths. Yet every great thinker in history understood that solitude is not loneliness. Solitude is power. Marcus Aurelius found wisdom in solitude. Nikola Tesla relied upon solitude. Abraham Lincoln regularly withdrew for reflection. The greatest breakthroughs often occur in silence. When external noise disappears, internal wisdom emerges. Start with 10 minutes daily. Sit quietly. Reflect. Think. Observe your thoughts without judgment. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. That discomfort is evidence that growth has begun, because a limitless mind is not built through constant stimulation. It is built through conscious reflection, and reflection leads naturally to self-awareness. Self-awareness is the foundation of transformation. You cannot improve what you refuse to acknowledge. Most people spend their entire lives avoiding themselves. They blame circumstances, they blame parents, they blame society, they blame luck. Blame provides temporary comfort. Responsibility creates lasting power. Epictetus taught that no one is free who is not master of himself. True freedom begins when you stop asking, "Who is responsible for my problems?" and start asking, "What can I do about them?" This question is life-changing. Lost your job? What skills can you develop? Struggling financially? What habits must change? Relationship falling apart? How can you become a better communicator? Notice the shift. Victimhood says, "Life is happening to me." Strength says, "Life is happening for me." Every adversity contains instruction. Every setback carries a lesson. Every failure offers information. The limitless individual extracts wisdom from suffering. History repeatedly proves this principle. Nelson Mandela endured 27 years in prison, yet he emerged without bitterness. Instead of allowing suffering to destroy him, he allowed suffering to refine him. Viktor Frankl survived unimaginable horrors in concentration camps. He later wrote that everything can be taken from a person except one thing: the freedom to choose one's attitude. Read that again. Even in the worst circumstances, human beings retain the power of response. That is extraordinary, and it means that regardless of your past, your future remains unwritten. You may have experienced betrayal. You may have failed repeatedly. You may have endured heartbreak, loss, humiliation, or disappointment. None of those experiences define you. Your response defines you. Marcus Aurelius himself endured constant betrayal. Trusted allies turned against him. Family members disappointed him. Political enemies surrounded him. Yet he refused bitterness. Why? Because bitterness imprisons the person who carries it. Many people unknowingly sabotage their potential because they refuse to release the past. They replay old wounds. They relive betrayals. They rehearse painful memories. Years pass, but emotionally they remain trapped. A limitless mind understands a powerful truth. You cannot move forward while dragging the past behind you. Forgiveness does not excuse wrongdoing. Forgiveness frees you. It releases emotional weight. It allows energy to return to your mission. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack every day for years. Eventually, exhaustion becomes normal. Most people live this way emotionally. The moment they finally let go, they discover something surprising. They were never weak. They were simply burdened. But freedom from the past creates another challenge. What should you pursue? Purpose. Human beings require purpose. Without purpose, discipline collapses. Without purpose, suffering feels meaningless. Without purpose, distractions become irresistible. Nietzsche famously said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." The Stoics deeply understood this. Marcus Aurelius viewed himself as a servant of humanity. His purpose guided him through war, disease, and political chaos. Purpose does not necessarily mean changing the world. Purpose means identifying what deeply matters to you. Perhaps it is becoming an exceptional parent. Perhaps it is building a business. Perhaps it is serving others. Perhaps it is mastering a craft. Whatever it is, protect it fiercely, because purpose transforms ordinary effort into meaningful sacrifice. When purpose is strong, excuses weaken. You stop asking, "Do I feel like doing this?" You begin asking, "Does this align with who I want to become?" This identity shift changes everything. A limitless mind is identity-driven. Average people focus on outcomes. Extraordinary people focus on identity. An average person says, "I want to write a book." A limitless person says, "I am a writer." An average person says, "I want to get healthy." A limitless person says, "I am someone who honors my body." Identity shapes behavior. Behavior reinforces identity, and over time, destiny emerges. But there is one final enemy that silently destroys countless dreams: fear. Fear. More dreams have been destroyed by fear than by failure itself. Fear has convinced brilliant people to remain silent. It has persuaded talented individuals to settle for mediocrity. It has trapped millions inside lives they secretly hate. And perhaps the greatest tragedy is that most fears never actually happen. Think about that. How many nights have you spent worrying about situations that never occurred? How many opportunities have you rejected because of imagined disasters? How many times has fear whispered, "You are not ready, you will embarrass yourself," or "people will judge you"? The Stoics understood something extraordinary. Fear does not come from events. Fear comes from our interpretation of events. Epictetus said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them." This insight has the power to transform your entire life. Consider public speaking. One person sees it as an opportunity to inspire others. Another sees it as a chance to fail publicly. Same situation, completely different emotional experience. The event remained identical, only perception changed. A limitless mind constantly questions its fears. Is this fear real? What evidence supports it? What is the worst possible outcome? Could I survive that outcome? Most of the time the answer is yes. You could survive embarrassment, you could survive rejection, you could survive failure, and once you realize this, fear begins losing its power. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly reminded himself that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Modern psychology confirms this ancient wisdom. Researchers have found that anticipation of pain often creates more suffering than the painful experience itself. In other words, many people spend their lives imprisoned by imaginary prisons. The Stoics had a solution. Face fear voluntarily. Do the difficult thing. Speak up. Start the business. Have the conversation. Take the risk. Every courageous action sends a powerful message to your subconscious. I am stronger than my fear. This is how mental strength is built, not in comfort, not in safety, but in moments when you act despite uncertainty, because courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is movement in the presence of fear. And once you develop courage, something incredible happens. You stop needing certainty. You realize that certainty was always an illusion. No one knows exactly what tomorrow holds. No one can guarantee success. No one can avoid hardship. Life itself is uncertain. The limitless individual accepts uncertainty rather than resisting it. This acceptance creates peace. Most anxiety exists because people demand guarantees from a world that cannot provide them. They want certainty before taking action. But certainty comes after action. Confidence comes after action. Clarity comes after action. Action is the cure. There is another reason people remain limited. They underestimate the power of consistency. Modern culture celebrates dramatic transformations. Overnight success, instant wealth, rapid change. The Stoics rejected this fantasy. Marcus Aurelius became great through daily practice. Seneca became wise through daily reflection. Epictetus mastered himself through daily discipline. Greatness is not created in a single moment. Greatness is created in ordinary moments repeated consistently. One workout, one page read, one difficult conversation, one act of discipline repeated for years. Small actions appear insignificant in the moment, but compounded over time, they become life-changing. Imagine improving by only 1% each day. At first, nothing appears different. Weeks pass. Progress seems invisible. Months pass. Change becomes noticeable. Years pass. Transformation becomes undeniable. This is why so many people quit too early. They abandon the process before the results appear. The limitless mind trusts the process. It understands that seeds planted today produce harvests tomorrow. Patience is power. Impatience destroys potential. Nature itself teaches this lesson. Trees do not grow overnight, Mountains are not formed in days. Strength develops gradually. Your life is no different. And yet, there will be moments when life knocks you down. Moments of heartbreak, moments of failure, moments when everything seems to collapse. What then? The Stoics offer one final lesson. Resilience. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Read that again. What stands in the way becomes the way. Most people see obstacles as signs to stop. Stoics see obstacles as opportunities to grow. Lost your job? Opportunity to reinvent yourself? Failed in business? Opportunity to gain wisdom. Experienced. Heartbreak? Opportunity to develop emotional strength. Every difficulty contains hidden potential. The obstacle is not your enemy. The obstacle is your teacher. History is filled with examples. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before creating the light bulb. Abraham Lincoln endured repeated defeats before becoming president. Colonel Sanders faced rejection over 1,000 times before building Kentucky Fried Chicken. Imagine if they had surrendered. Imagine if Marcus Aurelius had surrendered during war. Imagine if Epictetus had surrendered to slavery. Human greatness is born from perseverance. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary people is rarely talent, it is persistence. Extraordinary individuals simply refuse to quit. And this brings us to perhaps the most important truth in this entire video. You already possess more potential than you realize. The strength you seek is already within you. The discipline you admire in others can be developed. The confidence you desire can be earned. The wisdom you pursue can be learned. Your limitations are not fixed. They are stories. Stories created by past experiences, fear, doubt, and conditioning. But stories can be rewritten. Starting today, you can choose a new story. A story in which you no longer run from discomfort. A story in which you honor your promises. A story in which you stop seeking validation. A story in which discipline replaces excuses. A story in which setbacks become fuel. A story in which your mind becomes your greatest ally instead of your greatest enemy. Imagine yourself 1 year from now. Imagine waking up with unshakable confidence. Imagine possessing emotional control, regardless of circumstances. Imagine becoming the person others look to for strength. That future is possible, but only if you begin now, not tomorrow, not next Monday, not when conditions become perfect. Now, because every day you delay, you train yourself to remain the same. And every day you act, you train yourself to become limitless. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." The same applies to you. Stop talking. Stop waiting. Stop doubting. Begin. Train your mind. Master yourself. Become limitless. Because the quality of your life will always be determined by the quality of your mind. And if this message resonated with you, write "limitless" in the comments below. Let that word become your commitment. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and join this community of people committed to wisdom, discipline, and self-mastery. Remember, your mind can either become your prison or it can become your greatest source of freedom. The choice has always been yours.